For those of you waiting and wondering to know if Star Wars The Force Awakens is good, relax. This is a good movie. In fact, this is a great movie. So Star Wars The Force Awakens is directed by J.J. Abrams. It stars Daisy Ridley, John Boyega, Oscar Isaac, Harrison Ford, Carrie Fisher, Mark Hamill, and just a bunch of other people. Is the continuation of the original trilogy. It's 30 years later, and that's about all I really want to say without spoiling this movie. This will be my spoiler-free review. I'll be doing a spoiler review probably Saturday, Sunday sometime when I get the chance to see the movie again. But yeah, this movie picks up 30 years after. We get introduced to a few new characters. We get to see some familiar characters. And we're getting a relatively new story, but like I said, I really don't think I could even delve into the basics of this story without giving it away too much. So I'm just going to tell you what I liked and what I didn't like without giving away anything at all. So first of all, everyone's going to be wondering about the action in this movie, and I will say the action in this movie is fantastic. There's about 3 to 4 really, really good action set pieces, and thankfully all the trailers we've seen up to this point do not give away very much of the last action set piece. What you've seen happen sort of in the first and second acts of this movie, so there is even more to come after that. And the way J.J. Abrams and the filmmaking crew managed to blend practical and special effects together so well, it just felt real, all of it. Even the really sort of special effects heavy dogfights between the X-Wings and the TIE Fighters, it all managed to feel really real, and you get sucked in so easily. And yes, there are a few lightsaber battles, and they do kick ass, but that's all I'm going to say about them. But yeah, it really did come down to the fact that they managed to blend in so much practical stuff where they could, and everything they just could not do practically was done with special effects, made the whole thing have a gravity to it, and it made it feel real, and it really, really did make you feel for these characters that are stuck in these situations. And I was on the edge of my seat during every single action scene in this movie. One of the other things in this movie that was really great was the humor, and that's something that really, like, the original trilogy had humor, and it was good, but it wasn't very spread out, and it was really reserved for 1 or 2 different characters. This time around, the humor is sort of a lot more widespread, and at some points it does feel like everyone's trying to get a joke in here and there, but for the most part, all the humor lands. And I can't go past the humor without talking about our new little buddy, our new little droid, everyone's favorite BB-8. He is fantastic, and he's everything that I wanted out of BB-8. He is the perfect blend of funny, just from his actions, just from his movements, his beeps and his boops. He is funny, at the same time he is still inquisitive, and you do feel for this character, and he seems to have his own emotions, and just the fact they managed, one, to build that goddamn thing and have it be practical for the majority of this movie, and the way they made it move, and it's just like you can't understand what it's saying, but just from its actions alone, you get what it's trying to convey. And now, I guess, for the human performances, everyone in this movie is, for the most part, fantastic. At least those that actually got a decent amount of screen time. There are a few characters that got a lot less screen time than I thought they would and didn't play quite as a pivotal role as I thought they would, but hopefully we will see them in future movies. But the ones that did get heaps of screen time were just fantastic. Oscar Isaac as Poe Dameron is just one of the most likable, charismatic, awesome characters that the Star Wars universe has ever produced, and he didn't get as much screen time as I wanted to. I wanted more and more of Poe Dameron. What we got was great. What we missed out on was a shame, but I'm hoping he's coming back and being an even more major character in the movies going forward. But yeah, from the moment he was on screen, I just gravitated towards him. He has this beautiful charisma, very Han Solo-ish, but he brings his own thing to it. And yeah, I just wanted more and more of him. I wanted to hang out with him. He just seems like a really, really cool dude. John Boyega's Finn is another really strong performance. He was fantastic. And from the moment he was on screen as well, even under all the Stormtrooper armor, I could feel his conflicted emotion the minute he was on screen. And his escape, and then his meeting up with Rey, who we'll get to in a sec. You just get to know so much about this character in such a short amount of time, and by the end of the movie, you are totally 100% invested in this guy. He's a guy who cares about the people around him, who isn't like the rest of the people in the First Order. He is someone that actually feels empathy and wants other people to be safe and to be happy, and he just conveyed that so well. And he's a flawed character, like all the best characters are flawed, and those flaws come through, but it's how he rectifies that and what he does for his friends that makes him almost the standout character in this movie. And Daisy Ridley as Rey, there's nothing really more to say than that she was phenomenal. She was amazing in this role as Rey. She did a fantastic job for someone who hasn't had that much experience in front of a camera before, but she just knocked it out of the park in every scene. Her character is fantastic and someone that has layers upon layers. And we only got to peel back a few of them. I can't wait for the next movie where you get to peel back more and more of who she actually is. But from what we got, she is just the center, the focal point of this movie, and she just delivered every single scene. Someone else who delivered in a really big way, Harrison Ford as Han Solo. He was Han Solo. It wasn't Harrison Ford playing Han Solo. It was just Han Solo again. But it was Han Solo with 30 years of experiences behind him, and you could feel that. It wasn't the same Han Solo being played by an older Harrison Ford. It was an older Han Solo being played by an older Harrison Ford, and you felt that. It was still the same character, but they managed to convey that 30 years in between of all the stuff that had happened to him, good and bad, has now added to this character, and it makes him a more compelling character all the way through the movie. And Harrison Ford just did such a fantastic job. When he said one of the reasons he was coming back was because of the strength of the script, I get that now. And the strength of his character alone, it would have been hard to turn down coming back to reprise your role as Han Solo in this movie, because he is partly the conduit to which these new characters are introduced into this universe, but at the same time, his own personal story is one that you get wrapped up in pretty much from the get-go. And there's one scene, and this isn't a spoiler, when he gets back into the cockpit of the Falcon for the first time, the look on his face was just something that is impossible to describe. Go and watch the movie and just wait for that scene, because it is just fantastic. Now let's get into Kylo Ren, played by Adam Driver. A fantastic villain. There is no other way to say it. He is someone who is motivated and vicious and cunning and just fantastic to watch. He just embodied this character perfectly. Mask on or mask off, he was amazing. And that's the best thing about him, and what really good villains bring is their motivation. You need to buy into why they are the way they are, and you get his motivations really early on in this movie, and it just works. It works on just a fantastic level. He pulls in a brilliant performance as Kylo Ren. I'll probably be talking a bit more about him come the spoiler review, but for now, he's a great villain, perfect motivation, and Adam Driver, just well done, man. You did a fantastic job. And of course, I can't skip out on Carrie Fisher. Of course, she really did a great job in the small amount of time that she got. It wasn't a really small amount of time, but it was a lot less than I thought she would get. But she managed in that time to give you everything you needed, every sort of bit of backstory for the last 30 years that we didn't get. She conveyed in pretty much one or two scenes. Yeah, she just did a fantastic job. She was exactly who I wanted Leia to be 30 years on. She's now no longer Princess Leia, she's General Leia. And she is a leader amongst the Resistance. And the back and forth between her and Han is as great as it always has been. Once again, I'll touch a lot more on that come the spoilers. Now, there are some parts of this movie that I didn't think were great, and no movie is flawless. The original Star Wars trilogy is not flawless. It has these fairly noticeable in some points flaws. So does this movie. But really, they're things that you can look past without really them breaking the movie for you. Whereas the prequels, there was a fair few things that just broke the movie for me. This time around, these things, you can look past them fairly easily. They're flaws that you understand for whatever reason they were part of the movie. But it's not something that's really in the forefront of my mind when I think about this movie. When I think about this movie, it's the feeling it gave me. And that feeling is, this was a Star Wars movie. And at the end of the day, that is all it needed to be. There were so many times when I was sitting in the theater and I just got that feeling sort of right here of just that breathlessness feeling of just like, I'm back in the Star Wars universe. It's been, 10 years since the prequels, but they weren't great. But that feeling I got when I was 7 years old and I got the Star Wars trilogy for the first time on VHS, and I watched these movies, and even at that young of an age, I was transported to another universe. And that's what this movie did. It is a fantastic ride from start to finish. If you've ever watched a Star Wars movie and you know that feeling, then go and watch this movie, because there are so many times where you're going to feel that. You're going to get transported back to when you first watched the original trilogy, and it's just going to hit home for you in the biggest way. And that, apart from the amazing performances, the amazing practical effects, the amazing special effects, is where the heart and soul of this movie really lies. And for all of its flaws and shortcomings, this is a Star Wars movie first and foremost. And for that reason, Star Wars, The Force Awakens, it's 5 out of 5 Millennium Falcons. So guys, have you seen Star Wars? What did you think? Let me know in the comments down below. Click right here for all your movie needs. And as always, the Force will be with you.